Welcome to Newbie Sports and happy Halloween. I'm just coming out of a Halloween party myself. That's why I'm all dressed up. That's why I was all dressed up last time you saw me dressed up. Anyways, hope you had a good spooky season because all of you will be watching this after the holiday. So, yeah. I've been making these videos kind of late at night. I'm going to be changing that. Anyways, here are my Week 10 predictions. Kind of a slow week this week. We don't have any BYU this week, but I think they honestly need that bye week with the LJ Martin injury, all that kinds of stuff that we've already heard about. So we'll not harp too much on that. But bye week for BYU, there is some key information for BYU that we'll get to in just a little moment, though. But we have a fairly key game in the non-25 ranked teams matchups, and that is going to be Navy at North Texas. Now, Navy's undefeated at the moment. North Texas just has one loss. North Texas is favored to win by just over a touchdown. I think Navy pulls it off. I think Navy comes into North Texas and wins this game 35-30, remaining undefeated, and hopefully will get into the top 25 rankings, if not the first college football playoff rankings coming this Tuesday. But on to our three ranked top 25 matchups this week. We have Vanderbilt at Texas. Texas probably doesn't have Arch Manning, and I don't think they get it done without their starting quarterback. Your backup can be really, really good, but once you lose your starting quarterback that just can't participate, things can derail really fast, and I think Vanderbilt will capitalize on that, and I think Vanderbilt comes up with this win 30-27 is how I think Vanderbilt's going to win. That's game number 3. Game ranked number 2 is Oklahoma at Tennessee. I think Tennessee has just come out on top a lot more than people would have thought they did, and obviously one of those losses was from a heartbreaking field goal that missed, and that's one of the first times I've seen the opposing team say, yeah, we should have lost this game. Georgia's head coach said, yeah, we lost this game. Tennessee won this game. They should have won this game. And they would have won that game had the field goal not missed. But yeah, I think Tennessee comes out on top in this game. My score prediction is 42-31. The spread's really tight in this game, but I'm not convinced. I think Oklahoma demonstrated that they're kind of done. They're kind of done. And this is going to be basically the end of their season. I don't think a 9-3 SEC team gets into the playoffs. So this will be basically the end of their run. Unless they can find a way to get to the SEC championship game, which I don't think they will. On to the top 25. The top ranked game from the top 25 matchups, I have Cincinnati at Utah. Obviously, the big media is coming into this game, and there are some Utah fans that think that the sole reason for that, but we talked about how silly that was in my breakdown of Newbie's Hot Takes. I'll leave the link to that down in the description. Both these teams are decent teams. Cincinnati, though, has a loss against Nebraska. Utah has lost against Texas Tech, has been ranked since that game, and has been going up and up and up in the rankings, other than that one loss that they had. And BYU was ranked when they played them and has maintained their place in the top 25. But Utah comes into the top 25, they lose a key game and they fall out, and then they win really big, and then they get into the top 25, and then they lose again, but then they win really big again and then come back into the top 25. I don't think the Bearcats are strong enough for this Utah team at home. I know that I've teased Utah about not having very many wins at home, but I do think that the Utes get their third home win in the Big 12 this weekend, and I do think that they're going to win 34-24 against the Cincinnati Bearcats. Now, there's some other honorable mentions that we can talk about. Obviously, Texas Tech is coming into Kansas State. Now, they've had a tendency historically to not play very well in Kansas State. We'll see if that remains true. Kansas State has been playing better than they had been at the beginning of the season. I'm not convinced of this Kansas State game. I think Texas Tech is going to win that game. I'm not going to give a formal prediction on that, but I think Texas Tech wins And I bring up this game only because it has implications in the Big 12. Because BYU, at a little bit later at this point in this season, was playing a Kansas team that was a little bit worse off for wear than Kansas State. And Kansas came up with the win. And they were at BYU last year. So Kansas State could win this game and could throw the Big 12 into a whole heap of trouble. I don't think they will. I think Texas Tech comes out. I'm not going to give you a formal prediction on score because I haven't looked at it all too well. I think Texas Tech comes out with a win against Texas Tech comes up with a win at Kansas State. Multiple scores. It's going to be a multiple score lead. I'm not going to say that it's going to be more than 14 points. I'll leave it at that. It's going to be more than 10, less than 14. More than 10, less than 15. There we are. But what do you think about my takes? What do you think about my score predictions? Am I right? Am I wrong? What do you like? What don't you like? And if you don't like something, feel free to leave a comment as to why. And if you did like, please leave a like and subscribe. And this has been Newbie Sports.